Srimad Bhagavatam,
Перевод текста. Темной
Canto
ночью
10th,
не
Chapter 13,
становится
Text
темнее
45.
от снегопада.
As the darkness of
А белым
snow
днем
on
не
a dark
становится
night
светлее
and the light
от светлячка.
of a glowworm in the light
Так и
of day
мистическая
have no
сила,
value,
если
the
переменить ее
mystic
против
power of an
более могущего
inferior
человека,
person who tries to use it against a
бесполезна и только
person of great
уменьшается
power is unable to
от
accomplish
такой попытки.
anything. Instead, the power of that inferior person is
духовный
diminished.
закон.
That's the
Духовный принцип.
spiritual law.
Есть слава, кто-то
There's
могущественный,
glory
разные,
of
конечно, сферы могущества.
someone who is powerful,
Их разделили люди, и там они соревнуются
and
в области
people
науки, в области политики,
divided it.
в области искусства, в различных
And
областях,
now there's a
в
competition
политической,
going
в
on
области
in
моды.
all spheres and
Во всех
all
этих областях есть свои
fields like arts
лидеры,
and
преимущества. И там конкуренция.
elsewhere,
И вот
and
кто-то
there's a
достигает
competition
титула
everywhere.
выше всех.
And say someone would reach a
Стоит
certain
кому-то его победить,
level, he would reach
теряет
certain
славу.
sita, and
Всё
he would
странно.
get some fame immediately. And there would be someone else who would try
Как
to
мы
compete him.
занимались спортивной гимнастикой.
Just like
Это те годы,
we've been
70-е годы.
doing
Очень
some
давно.
gymnastics,
И то, что
we've been
тогда
into
считалось
sports.
чем-то
It
очень
was back in the Soviet times.
непревзойденным сейчас.
And
Возможно,
back then,
что
what
вы
we
выйдете
thought
сейчас на
was
помост и покажете то, что вы делаете в 70-х
outstanding
годах современной
in the
гимнастики.
70s, nowadays everybody would
Не
just laugh
позорьтесь,
at
лучше
you.
вообще не выходите туда на помост.
It would be
Лучше даже
just
не
so
появляйтесь.
shameful to show off those
есть
skills.
И вот с течением
So the
времени
glory is
материальный мир всё
diminishing,
уменьшается, и люди не
and
могут
with the
понять,
time,
почему уменьшается, почему.
people cannot understand why is
Вроде
it
бы есть предел,
diminishing.
и есть как бы эталон
There should be a
мистического
limit, and
могущества, а оказывается нет, есть
it
всегда
seems
что-то
like
более превосходящее.
there is something we can
Человек
compare
пытается изучить эти
with
силы, что присвоить себе, чтобы
the
стать
things to do, but
могущественнее, но есть еще более могущественные силы. И
every
так,
time there is something or
победа
someone
за победой,
who is
позор
more
за позором.
powerful,
За каждой победой следует позор,
and it's like
уменьшение.
one
Этого закона
victory would follow
специалисты, потому что в их понимании
after
есть
certain
какая-то
victory would
конечная-
follow a shameful situation.
конечное,
So
конечное могущество, выше которого уже
there
нельзя.
might be a certain point,
Ну, для человеческой
the
жизни,
power
да,
point
возможности есть
for a
предел,
human life. There is a limit
души нет.
for a human life, but the soul is
И здесь
limitless.
такие примеры приводит Брahmā. Он осознает, что его мистическая сила
There are
это
such
сила
an examples
поражения,
here
превосходная сила.
that Brahma has such a
сравнении с этой
power
силой
that
она
his
превратилась
power is unlimited, but
Светлячка,
according to or comparing with the power that been manifested, his
комментарий.
power
Тот, кто пытается
diminished
превзойти более
greatly.
могущественного человека,
Purport.
лишь выставляет себя на
When one
посмешище.
wants to
Так же, как днем не
supersede a
становится
superior
светлее от
power,
светлячка, а ночью не становится
one's own
темнее от
inferior
снегопада.
power becomes
Снег же белый,
ludicrous.
и днем он
Just as a
увеличивает.
glowworm in the
Свет, а ночью нет.
daytime. You know, just like the
Присутствие
snow
Кришны,
when
мистическое
it's
могущество Брахмы ничего,
in the
не
nighttime it's glowing,
поскольку
but during the
большая мистическая
daytime
сила
you don't
поставляет меньше.
pay attention to the snow.
Ночью
And snow
светлячок
at night
бросается
have
в
no
глаза,
value.
но
Brahma's
днем
mystic
его
power
свет никому не нужен.
became worthless in the presence of
Так и
Krishna.
мистическое могущество
For greater mystic power
Брахмы
condemns
утратило всякое
inferior
значение
mystic
присутствия
power.
Кришны.
On a dark
Māyā
night,
Кришны
the
нисколько
darkness
не
produced by
померкла,
snow has no meaning.
но Māyā
The
Брахмы
glowworm
была посрамлена.
appears very important at
Так что
night,
не надо пытаться
but in the
демонстрировать свои
daytime
жалкие
it glows.
способности перед тем, кто более
Its
могущественный.
glow has no value.
Вообще,
Whatever little
вайшнавы
value
не
it has
демонстрируют
is
свои
lost.
знания или ситхи,
Usually Vaishnavas
свои способности.
do not demonstrate
Это
there's
отличает их
knowledge
от
and
йогов,
there's
мистических йогов.
siddhas,
Йог не
and
может
this is the
держаться,
difference
если он не
between
предан,
a Vaishnava
очень трудно
and
держаться,
yogi.
чтобы не продемонстрировать такую ситху,
A yogi,
показать
he
свое
would
могущество.
always like to demonstrate
Кто
his
более
siddha if he has
отличен,
one.
Можно соревноваться
Or
в
if
этом,
someone
кто
is
более
more renounced, he
знающий,
would demonstrate it. Or the one who is
тонко мыслит,
bigger scholar in something. If someone has some abilities, superpower, he wants to demonstrate it. Otherwise, in the material world, there is no need of the siddhas. And only the devotee, the real devotee, he has no such a desire to demonstrate his siddhas. It's not acceptable for the renounced person if he is using his knowledge and abilities in order to get fame. Mystic power can give you the ability to make some objects from the air, and you can appear to someone in his dreams, or you can move yourself to certain planets and places. You can travel. You can do things against the laws of nature. You can make your own laws of nature. And yogis are such people who can do that. And then they're trapped. It's more like a snare of their fame. And devotees, they don't have such desires because they use all their abilities in order to render service. They play in the role of the servant, and the servant is never trying to overcome the master. And Prabhupada was showing this, that he is a servant of everyone. Even though he was criticizing some of the representatives of the ruling class, and he was saying that there are some dog eaters and Aryas, and there are many classes, he was saying. And he was asked, like, what do you put yourself? Where do you put yourself? On what class? And he said, I am a servant of everyone, so I am a fifth class person. That's the devotee. He might have all the mystic powers, but he would never use it to travel places or to gain some fame. And he acts as if he has no powers, but he always wins in the service. Whatever service he has, sometimes it seems to be impossible to do, like some of the devotees, some of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they were saying, Prabhupada gave us this impossible service, but they would gain the victory. And of course, if someone would try to do it in mundane life, it would be impossible. If Prabhupada would come and say, I am the superior person, I brought this superior knowledge to you, no, nothing would happen that way. But he was saying that I'm just a servant of the Lord, and I'm just trying to serve him well. And Kṛṣṇa was helping him. It's really not easy not to follow the siddhas if you have them. You would like to use them. It's just like during the time of the huge feast, someone would stay there starving and not eating. Or if you're in heaven and you keep your mind unentertained, and just like a handsome person, he's afraid of getting old. Someone is attached to his physical power, someone is attached to his richness, or some fame, or his achievements, military achievements, and everybody is attached to this medals and rewards and pictures. showing his power. But the real power that Krishna is giving is the humility. Humility, these qualities are deep down in the heart of the devotee. The pure devotee, he doesn't need to demonstrate, manifest all these qualities he has or abilities, because only the Lord who can reward such a devotee with the humility and humbleness, and the main reward is the service. So these things are not available to materialistic people, and they make everything a show. And when Krishna is showing, manifest his power, they lose everything. They go away unnoticed, lost. It's interesting, funny thing that, like, you have one day you have everything, and the next day you have nothing and nobody wants you. And any materialist would have to face this situation. With the time, the power of Krishna will manifest and make you disappear. Just like the glowworm wouldn't be noticeable in the daytime.
Затем все телята, и заботишься о них мальчики, мгновенно предстали перед взором Господа Брамы в телах цвета синеватой дождевой тучи. И в желтых
Then, while Lord Brahma looked on, all the calves and the boys, tending them, immediately appeared to have complexions, the color of bluish rain clouds, and to be dressed in yellow silken garments. And suddenly Brahma couldn't really understand what was going on. He was studying very closely all the calves, all the cowherd boys, and he was trying to solve this mystery, and suddenly all the bodies turned bluish and bluish rain clouds with certain dresses, and Brahma was amazed. While Brahma was contemplating, all the calves and cowherd boys immediately transformed into Vishnu Murtis, having bluish complexions and wearing yellow garments. Brahma was contemplating his own power and the immense, unlimited power of Krishna, but before he could come to conclusion, he saw this immediate transformation. So it became, the transformation came suddenly. All those personalities had 4 arms holding conch shells, disc, mace, and lotus flower in their hands. They wore helmets on their heads, earrings on their ears, and garlands of forest flowers around their necks. On the upper portion of the right side of their chests was the emblem of the goddess of fortune. Furthermore, they wore armlets on their arms and Kaustupa gem around their necks, which were marked with 3 lines like a conch shell, and bracelets on their wrists. And Brahma could really understand who that was, because he knew those paraphernalia, he knew those attributes. This form is original form of Vishnu is in the heart. Just like Prabhupada was saying, Krishna and Vishnu is the same, but they're dressed differently. Different paraphernalia. Just like a person going to work, he's changing his clothes.
У всех Вишнумурти было по 4 руки,
With
в которых они
bangles
держали
on their
раковину и
ankles,
прочее.
ornaments on their
Но так
feet,
выглядят
and
и те,
sacred
кто
belts
достиг
around their
Сарупья
waists.
Мукти,
They all
Вайкунтхи.
appeared very beautiful.
И благодаря этому
All the
имеют
Vishnu
такой же
forms had
облик, как у
forearms
Господа.
with conch shell and
Однако у
other
Вишнумурти,
articles, but these
представших
characteristics are also possessed by
были еще и
those who
знак
have
Шриватсы,
attained
а также
Sarupya Mukti
драгоценный
in
камень
Vaikuntha,
Каустубха,
and
который
who
носит только сам Верховный
consequently
Господь.
have forms exactly
Это
like
доказывает,
the
что
form
все
of
эти
the Lord.
мальчики и телята
However,
действительно были
these
непосредственно
Vishnu forms
Всевышним
appearing
Вишну,
before Lord
Вишну
Brahma
Сарупа, а
also
не просто
possess
его
the
спутник
mark of
Вайкунтха.
Shivatsa and the Kaustupa gem,
Сам Вишну
which are
является частичным
special
проявлением Кришны.
characteristic possessed only by the
Поэтому
Supreme Lord
все
Himself.
достояния Вишну
This
присутствуют в
proves that
Кришне.
all these boys and cubs were in fact
И нет
directly
ничего
expansions
удивительного в том,
of
что Кришна
Vishnu,
проявил
the
только
personality of
форм
Godhead,
Вишну.
not merely His associates
Чего же не
of
хватает
Vaikuntha.
Вишну, частичное проявление?
So
Он
what
всепроникающий,
Vishnu
он
is
душа
lacking?
всего мира,
He's
всех вселенных.
it's a partial demonstration, the
хватает
super
сладостной
soul
формы
of the whole world,
сына Нанды.
but
Расу не
he is
проявляет.
missing the rasa
Вот это сбило
of
с толку.
son of Nanda. And
Потому что
that
подобная раса,
misled
искаженная с материальным
Brahma's,
миром, материальных вселенных, также все традиции
thinking.
и так далее. Друзей, вот это сбило с толку, потому что Брахма руководствовался другим
Brahma was
понятием, что у него нет друзей.
thinking that the Lord might not have any friends or
Душа
foes,
нейтральна.
any
Господь
enemies. The
отстранен от этой двойственности.
super soul is neutral, and the
Тут
Lord
говорится
is
о отношении с привязанностью,
situated
что
away from everything in this material world. But here he saw that they've been interacting actively, and he could see those signs of big attachment. And because he knew that the Lord was not attached to anything. This is the thing that is missing, Vishnu missing, and Brahma is also missing it. He couldn't get these aspects, but the personal form of the Lord amazes even Brahma.
В Вайшнава-Ташане говорится, что знак Шриватсы представляет собой завиток желтых волос.
The Srivatsa mark is described by the Vaishnava Toshani as being a curl of fine yellow hair on the upper portion of the right side of Lord Vishnu's chest. This mark is not for ordinary devotees, it is a special mark of Vishnu or Kṛṣṇa. This is the way we can distinguish the Lord, by these fine little details. If anyone of you gonna get to Vaikuntha and you're gonna get a form just like four-handed form, you need to check on the people's chests, and there should be no such a mark. But if you see a mark like that, then you're Vishnu Tattva. Until you see that mark, you cannot say you're Vishnu Tattva. Every part of their bodies, from their feet to the top of their heads, was fully decorated with fresh, tender garlands of tulsi leaves, offered by devotees engaged in worshiping the Lord by the greatest pious activities, namely hearing and chanting. This is the description of garlands. Tender tulsi leaves garlands offered by devotees engaged in worshiping the Lord by the greatest pious activity, namely hearing and chanting. Such garlands he is wearing, Vishnu, Lord Vishnu wears. No other garlands required. It's just the service of the devotees. So his appearance is the service of theirs, of his devotees. Otherwise there will be no appearance. This is a relationship between his devotees and himself. So his form, his paraphernalias, is the result of the relationship. such look he has because of the devotees. So there are no certain forms that been forced for someone to see. Just like in material world, there are some forms that only people can only see, and they even get in love with someone by certain signs or marks they see. And of course there would be a desire to find a good pair for oneself, but even some ugly people can find a pair for them. So this form is given this relationship. You can't handle it. Like people say, they say, you've fallen in love with the celebrity, but look at yourself. Who are you? Or you're willing to get married, but who are you? You're poor, and she's a daughter of a rich person. Are you crazy? So in the material world it's like that, and everything is classified by gender and age, and everything is being determined by the form or abilities. Sometimes if you have, but the form is more powerful. Sometimes you might not have any abilities, but because thanks to your form, you can be chosen by rich people, etc. But in the spiritual world, the form is not pushing you towards your relationship. So Krishna is more like a feminine in his nature. And you know that mundane women, they tend to become what a man wants her to be. When a man wants, he's sick of seeing women's legs, then she's demonstrating her breasts. That's the mundane relationship. It's all twisted. But bhakti, it's different. When Krishna is looking at the jiva, jiva knows how to serve the Lord. This is the svarupa. This is relationship, really. So he's given this freedom, and Krishna is not looking at someone with lust. So when Krishna is looking at gopis, gopis become very beautiful, very attractive. And when he's looking at the jnanis, jnanis becoming very beautiful. And the form is not pushing them towards a certain thing. He's just looking and all your desires fulfilled. Obviously, it's just his will. So don't try to see the Lord, but live the way he wants to see you. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said. The word bhuri, punyavat, arpita is significant in this verse. The whole phrase is being translated here. These forms of Vishnu were worshipped by those who had performed pious activities, sukritibhi, for many births, and who were constantly engaged in devotional service. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. Bhakti, devotional service, is the engagement of those who have performed highly developed pious activities. The accumulation of pious activities has already been mentioned elsewhere in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 12, 11, where Shukadeva Goswami says,
Itam satam Brahmā sukano bhutya.
It's the text.
Перевод.
Translation. Those who are engaged in self-realization appreciating the Brahman influence of the Lord, and those engaged in devotional service accepting the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Master, as well as those who are under the clutches of Maya, thinking the Lord an ordinary person, cannot understand that certain exalted personalities, after accumulating volumes of pious activities, are now playing with the Lord in friendship as cowherd boys. Prabhupada is given a short definition of these accumulated pious activities, and we can say that there are many levels of these activities, but he is saying the topmost pious activities, the devotional service. In India, I've heard this example given from certain Shastra, and one of the Hindus said, he was given this Shastra name, and he said he took it from there. It is says that if you serve and gonna make a service the size of the universe, and you're gonna offer a certain offering so big, the universe size, or if you have a knowledge of universe size, or you're gonna go through austerities, the universal austerities, everything you're gonna accumulate, everything of that, it would be just 1.6 of the topmost, highest pious activities of hearing and chanting of Lord Vishnu. Hearing and chanting is not material activity, and non-mundane people can be engaged in that. And if you do it properly, then this Shravanam and Kirtanam gives the releases all the fallen souls. So Srila Prabhupada was saying, if you keep yourself actively in the mission, and you read, and you spread the Krishna conscious literature, or you retell the stories from Bhagavad Gita, or in Bhagavad Gita Krishna says that there are no such devotee who is more dear to me, who is engaged in this service like that. He reaches this yoga automatically just by retelling Bhagavad Gita. What else the topmost service can be? The only thing, you have to become a devotee. You cannot be a devotee with the material desires, otherwise it's just a show. It's a demonstration of your mundane abilities. Of course, it's a pious activity, and there is agyata sukriti, unconscious pious activity, when we just, the beginners, we don't understand what we spread, and we might even make a service to a certain spiritual man, and you will get that agyata sukriti. If you don't have any sukriti, then it means you have duskriti. If we don't make any good things, we will have to make bad things. We will be active anyway. There is no place in the middle. This world, material world, is a world of duality. There is a golden age, the devotional service, and the bad side. And the golden middle is also the devotional service. So materialists, they choose an evil. It's not that like they are choosing it to demonstrate. No, you are not choosing evil deeds to show. But this is what going on. The materialists, they do evil. and we can get some proofs. We spread this knowledge, just like Gopal Krishna Goswami when he was in St. Petersburg in the Soviet times. And many devotees back then, they were engaged in the service, spreading the literatures, but they were very poor. They could not support their families, hardly supported. And they were asking, like, how do we make money? How do we make living? How do we press on our mind to withstand? And he said just a simple thing was his answer. I remember it well. He said, you just need to do the charity thing. What can you give to the people? You don't have any money, but you have the knowledge, the greatest knowledge, spiritual knowledge. Why don't you share it? This is the heart and soul of our movement. Prabhupada gave us the topmost charity activity that leads us directly to Krishna. Thanks to this Sukriti, a person can make his garland and offer it to Vishnu directly. And Vishnu will accept it. He doesn't need any other garlands. He doesn't need any gold or jewelries. Only the devotion can decorate him. And when it becomes beautiful when it's offered to Krishna. But the Lord, He is not putting or dressing Himself with those garlands. His shape, His form is already perfect. But this devotional service is the garment. It is the decoration, and He accepts this like the decoration, just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying, I don't care if you say you're not clean, like Murari Gupta was saying and stuff. I will still touch you, and you are very dear to me. In our Kṛṣṇa Balaram temple in Vrindavan, there is a tamala tree that covers an entire corner of the courtyard. Before there was a temple, the tree was lying neglected, but now it has developed very luxuriantly, covering the whole corner of the courtyard. This is a sign of Bhuri Punya. So it became a temple tree. Then the tree got dry in some year, the tamala tree. But then the devotees took care of another little spread out of that tree. It became tree very quickly. Text number 50. Those Vishnu forms, by their pure smiling, which resembled the increasing light of the moon, and by the sidelong glances of their reddish eyes, created and protected the desires of their own devotees, as if by the modes of passion and goodness, created and protected the desires. The moment you see something beautiful, you have the desire to gain, to have it. Just by seeing the objects of senses, you have the desire to get it. And Lord Vishnu, He's making those desires. In His presence, all the potencies of even Brahma faded away. And his spiritual desires demonstrated. It means it is called enlightenment. When someone has spiritual desires, but if you heard something and you have no desire, then there is no contact yet. If you talk about Krishna, that it means
Эти
There's a
Вишнумурти
spiritual desire.
благословляли преданных
Those Vishnu
своими
forms
ясными взглядами
blessed
и
the
улыбками,
devotees with their clear
которые
glances and
напоминали
smiles,
усиливающий
which
луч
resembled
полной луны
the increasingly full light of the
Шриях
moon.
Карава Чандрика Витаранам. Выступая в роли
As
хранителя них,
maintainers, they
окидывали
glanced
своих
upon their
преданных взглядами,
devotees, embracing them
а
and
также
protecting
обнимали
them
их
by
и
smiling.
защищали улыбками. Вот что творит Господь Вишну.
Look what Vishnu does.
Их улыбки,
Their smiles resembled the mode of
все желания
goodness,
преданных,
protecting
напоминали
all the
луну
desires of the
благости,
devotees, and the
а
glancing of
взгляды
their
их глаз
eyes
напоминали
resembled the
луну
mode of
страсти.
passion.
На самом деле
Actually,
слово раджа
in
в
this
данном
verse, the
стихе
word raja
означает не
means
страсть, а
not
любовь.
passion but affection.
Еще одно значение.
Another
Здесь
meaning
страсть,
of
то
the word.
духовно раджа означает
There it's passion, but in spiritual
духовный
world
эквивалент
it's affection.
изначальный. Раджас в духовном
Rajas
мире это любовь.
in spiritual world is affection.
В материальном мире раджа гуна
In the
это
material world,
страсть, в
Raja
духовном
Guna is
мире
passion,
это любовь.
but in the spiritual world it is
В материальном мире
affection.
любовь
In the material
воспламенена
world,
раджа гуной и
affection is
тамагуной.
contaminated by Raja
Но
Guna and
в
Tamaguna,
шудха-саттве
but
любовь,
in the Shuddha Sattva,
хранящая
the
преданных
affection that
трансцендентна.
maintains the devotees is transcendental.
Что хранит преданность? Любовь, конечно.
What
же.
a devotee
Любовь хранит
is holding, it's affection, of course.
Слово
The word
свакартханам относится к очень
Svakartanam
сильным
refers
желаниям.
to great desires.
Свакартханам. Как говорится, в
As
этом
mentioned
стихе,
in this
взгляд
verse,
Господа Вишну
the glance of Lord
вызывает
Vishnu creates the
желание
desires of the
преданных.
devotees.
Однако у
A
чистого
pure
преданного нет
devotee,
желания.
however, has
Вот
no
почему
desires.
Санатана
Therefore,
Госвами
Sanatana
в
Goswami
комментарии
comments that
говорит, что
because
поскольку
the
желания
desire of a
преданных,
devotee whose
все внимание
attention is
сосредоточено на
fixed on
Кришне,
Krishna
уже
have already
исполнилось
been
желание.
fulfilled.
Взгляды,
The
которые
Lord's
Господь бросает на них,
sidelong
столь
glances create
искоса, вызывают у них разнообразные
variegated
желания, связанные с
desires in
Кришной,
relation to
служением
Krishna
ему.
and devotional service.
Нет желаний, значит нет
If
материальных
you
желаний.
have no desires, it
Что
means
живое
no
существо не
material
может
desires,
существовать без желаний.
because living entity cannot
Сама суть
exist
это желание.
without spiritual desires,
Наслаждаться.
without desires. It's
Когда
his
нет желаний,
essence.
только
When you
материальные
say you
желания
don't
можно
have any
перечерпать,
desires,
их нет.
you can say no material
Но
desires, because
духовные желания не
it's
черпаем.
only the material desires that you can realize.
В материальном мире
Spiritual
желание
desires, you
является
cannot
порождением
get to
раджагуны
the
и
end of
тамагуны.
those desires.
Но в
Thus,
духовном мире желание ведет
in Vrindavan,
к
there is
вечному и разнообразному трансцендентному
in the
служению.
material world, desire is a product of Rajaguna and
Таким образом,
Tamagun, but
слово
desire in the spiritual world gives rise to a variety of everlasting transcendental services.
Во
Thus, the
Вриндаване есть
word
место, где не было
Svakartanam refers
храма,
to
но преданный
eagerness to serve
пожелал:
Krishna.
«Вот
In
есть
Vrindavan,
храм, и сева,
there
преданное
is a
служение, и
place
теперь
where there was no
этот
temple,
прежде
but the
пустынный
devotee
уголок
desired,
превратился в
let there
место
be a temple
паломничества.
and seva
Таковы
devotional
желания
service. Therefore, what was once an empty corner has now become
Любое место может
a
превратиться в
place of
паломничество
pilgrimage.
за Кришну,
Such
и всё это будет
are the
пробуждение
desires of the
желаний,
devotees.
духовных.
Any place can be transformed into a place
Это
for
можно
Krishna
наблюдать у всех преданных в
by the
исходе.
desire of the devotee. You can
Ну,
see it
в хорошей форме. Начинающий в хорошей форме.
in any devotee
Уже
who is
опытный
in a good
преданный,
shape,
который имеет
who
смирение в
been,
хорошей форме.
who has
Остальные, может быть,
who
более
is
стоящие
humble,
трудности испытывают.
and he has no material
Эти преданные,
difficulties, like
они энтузиастичны
no doubts.
к бескорыстному преданному
And
служению.
devotees, they are always
ему за
enthusiastic
Они всё равно это
according
будут
to
платят, не
the
платят,
devotional
они всё равно
service, and they don't ask for
Они
any payment.
творческие.
And
Они
they're
просто
creative.
вырабатывают какие-то договорные условия. Они творческие.
They are
они
not
знают, как
following
сделать
some
лучше,
contract.
и еще лучше. Это преданное служение, это его признак.
And they just
Преданный
do
сам
this devotional
совершенствует
service.
это
That's
служение
the
без всяких
qualification of the
других стимулов.
devotee.
Только имя Кришны.
He is
всё.
always served,
Деньги не стимул.
and he cares not.
Как надо рабочие говорят.
for
Что мы
money.
делаем так. А если заплатите больше, сделаем
It's
лучше.
not like the workers. They would say, "We just do it this way because
Кармическое
you
дело.
pay this way.
И
If you're not paying, we're
такого
not
энтузиазма
making."
не найдем в
That's
материальном
a
мире.
karmic
Есть
or
одаренные
material
какие-то
thing.
люди, конечно, которые
Of course,
талант,
there would be some people
которые
who
ради
are
своего
very
таланта и
talented,
славы
and thanks
делают
to their
вещи всегда
talent,
хорошо, даже
because
если
they
не
want to
платят.
demonstrate their
Их цель
talent,
быть
they make it
признанными.
good because they want to get
Чтобы талант
fame
признали.
from it.
М.
So their talent
Это,
is
конечно, не такой
appreciated.
пример.
but it's
Тоже
not
материальный.
such an example.
Но
But
преданные
this is
даже
an
в
example
душе,
thing,
чем же они одарены?
mundane, material
Преданным
thing.
служением самим.
And the devotee, they
Бегают повсюду и
always
думают, как распространять сознание Кришны, что еще можно сделать. Как Кришна, знаете, как это
glad
рассказывается, что
to
происходит
have
на
a
улице,
chance
всем интересно
to do the
слушать.
service.
Пробуждает вот эти желания делать то же самое. И все забывают про деньги,
Just like
про
the
выгоду.
stories you hear from
Любой преданный
someone,
санкиртаны, когда рассказывает свои
the
истории,
stories from the
на улице.
streets, like a Sankirtan devotee who distribute transcendental literature, and everybody hearing those stories
И также проповедь о
wants
Кришне,
to
она сама по себе
join
самодостаточна. Человек
and
не
go to the
забывает
streets and
о
spread
выгоде
the
своих
literature
акций, просто
because it's so
забывает.
attractive.
Что-то незначительное становится для него. Да. Будет за это что-то, не будет, какая разница.
So he cares
Сколько будет? Если проповедник
less
путешествует и думает,
for
сколько дадут
anything such a
пожертвований.
devotee. If you travel, if
Он не
you're a
смотрит.
preacher and you travel and you think how much
Да.
donation you're gonna get, you will not be able to serve
Один
people.
преданный рассказывал, как он поехал
One
проповедовать,
devotee was
но у него были
telling
финансовые
that
также
one day he
сложности,
was
поэтому дадут какие-то пожертвования.
he went preaching and he thought,
Рассчитывал, что дадут
I have some
пожертвования.
financial
И он там
problems,
провел ту программу, другую
and
программу.
he thought maybe they will give me some
500
donation,
рублей.
and they have,
Ну, копейки.
after spending
Всё, больше я
hosting
проповедовать не
a
буду.
couple of
Я не
programs,
выживу так.
he got
Ну,
just
действительно,
a
это
few
бывает, что человек
cents,
не может себя поддерживать за счет проповеди.
and he thought maybe
Но
I
он не
should stop
расстраивается,
it.
он другое служение делает тогда.
But real devotee, he's not
Это
really
преданный.
thinking like that. He's
Как Прабхупада говорит, если вы
he
тигра
doesn't worry
запустите
about
в
things
Нью-Йорк,
like that. It's just
условия
like
для,
Prabhupada was saying,
цивилизованного
you
города,
put
что
your
он будет
tiger
охотиться, правильно?
in New York,
На охоту
he would still go hunting,
ловить, съедать кого-то.
trying to
Если вы
catch
преданно
and
запустите
find
в
a
джунгли,
food.
что он там будет делать?
If you put a tiger in the jungle,
Он и там будет проповедовать.
or if you put a devotee in the jungle, he would
Один
still
преданный
preach
сказал,
in the jungle.
пришел духовный
That's his
учитель,
nature.
сказал,
One day, the spiritual master came and his disciple said,
что ты мантру
Guru
повторяешь,
Maharaj, I have a
такое, потому
problem.
что ко мне
I can't chant
одолевают
my
души.
mantra.
Всё не
I'm ghost.
Знаете,
I'm
каждую
ghost
почти ночь
chased.
глаза закрываю, все начинается. Боже мой,
Every
спать не
time
могу,
I
спать не могу.
close my eyes, I
Там
cannot
жаба плохая.
sleep. My
Уже
japa
днём
is
какие-то
very
галлюцинации.
bad. I'm hallucinating during the daytime.
Говорит,
The
что ты делаешь?
spirits,
Ничего, говорит, пытаюсь мантру
attacking
повторять,
me.
там, Нарисимху и прочее,
ghosts,
но
I'm trying to
не отстают.
chant Nrsimha's
Не
name,
проповедуют.
and still they're attacking. And
Это
he
что
said,
живые
why
существа?
don't you preach them? They're living beings. What's the
Сырую
problem?
Бхагавад-гиту, дай им
Just
комментарии,
quote,
дай им
give him
лекцию,
some
что
quotes from
теряешь
Bhagavad
шанс.
Gita, give him lecture. What are you
Не
losing?
знаю, не помню, помогло, насколько это.
I don't know if it was
Такая
helpful or
точка
not,
зрения
but
тоже есть.
it's
То есть
another
преданный, если его в джунгли
idea.
или к духам, он
So
там
if
будет
you
проповедовать.
get to the jungle or to
Это
spirits,
его суть.
the place where spirits
Вот
live,
это
you're
взгляд
still
Вишну,
gonna,
так сказать,
you would still gonna preach.
милость Господа. Так.
That's the mercy of the Lord.
Хорошо, здесь мы остановимся.
Okay, we're gonna
51-й
stop
текст.
here. This is the
Брахма
text
похищает
of
мальчиков телят.
51.
Может быть,
Brahma is
есть вопросы?
stealing cowherd boys and calves. Are there any questions? How do we spread the knowledge and know
Надо
that
думать о плодах.
the result is going to be good?
Преданное
You
служение
shouldn't think
означает, что мы это
of
делаем
the
для облегчения
results.
духовного учителя.
Devotional service means
Ради плодов.
we do everything to satisfy
Иначе
our
большинство
spiritual
преданных не
master.
смогут проповедовать.
Otherwise, if you think
Раз
of
он
the
приносит
fruits,
плоды, зачем я это делаю?
the
Это опять
fruitive
же кармический
activity
взгляд, да?
would make you
Врожденный,
stop doing things.
материалистичный. Мы
Otherwise,
просто-
it's just
ну, а
materialistic
один преданный
activity.
Прабхупада, я не могу проповедовать.
One devotee said, Prabhupada, I
Плохая память,
cannot
язык
preach,
такой.
I cannot speak,
А что
very
ты
well,
же
and,
лекции мои слушаешь,
but he said,
просто повтори, как ты их понял.
do you listen to my
Но, тем не
lectures?
менее, вот
Just repeat it the way you
Да.
hear it.
Прабхупада позвал Сарасвати. Это дочь Малати.
One day, Prabhupada
Маленькая
called for
была.
Saraswati, a daughter of Malati. She was a little girl.
Вот. И говорит, Сарасвати,
And
повторяй
he
за
said,
мной.
Saraswati,
Кришна —
just
верховная личность Бога.
repeat after me. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And she
И
did.
Прабхупада,
Krishna is
несколько
Supreme Personality of Godhead.
она
And
повторила,
then
говорит,
he said a couple of more lines. And she repeated after him. And she said, that's the thing. she is
Но это не
preaching.
приносит плоды.
It's easy, but it is not giving any fruits, and people were making fun of it. But
Вот чё.
this is what you need to do.
И продолжай это делать.
You just follow,
И ты
you
увидишь, что в
repeat
какой-то
the
момент
words
ты
of your
заметишь, что
spiritual
люди
master, and
начинают
one
тебя
day
серьёзно
you will
слушать.
really
Ты серьёзно?
understand.
Серьёзно.
You will notice that
Да,
it's a service,
У тебя появится вера.
and you will get the faith.
Они говорят, мы не понимаем, почему ты говоришь о Кришне, то, но
And
твоя вера. Вот.
that way, people would say, we don't understand
Почему ты в это веришь?
why are you talking about Krishna all the time, but your
Так,
faith
проповедь.
is troubling us. Why?
Если мы не
Wh-
можем
where is your
рассказывать о
faith coming
Кришне
from?
или как бы
But if we cannot
прямо о
open
Кришне
our
говорящих
mouth
словом, редко найти такого
mouth
человека, прямо о Кришне
talking about
дочь
Krishna,
послушает, начнет сразу практиковать.
it would be hard to
Но
find
тем не менее,
someone
мы-
listening
наш
to you.
язык не поворачивается проповедовать людям,
But even
давать
if
им
you
знания, которые приближают их к Богу,
if you
так,
are unable
описывают
to
абсолютную
preach the
истину, значит, у
people,
нас нет веры, слабой веры.
then it means your
Если
faith
боимся
is
этот
not
порок
strong.
Значит, это вера
If
слабая.
you're scared
А
of
что
such
это
an
она порушает?
activity, it means
М.
you don't have good faith.
Без веры невозможно практиковать.
You cannot practice this knowledge without faith.
Даже просто повторяя Харе Кришна,
Even chanting Hare Krishna, by simply chanting the Hare Krishna, you can develop your faith.
способности, допустим.
Or you can develop your desire of
Или
mystic
какой-то плод
abilities,
воспевания.
some siddhas, or get some fruit.
Это не является
for
возвышенной
yourself.
деятельностью, пока человек не
It's
начнет
not an
отдавать,
elevated,
вот,
auspicious
высшей
activity
благотворительностью заниматься, отдавать
unless you
вот
share
сокровенные вещи, передавать их.
your sacred knowledge.
А когда мы учимся, это не получается сразу.
And while we're learning, we're
Если
not
вы ждете, когда вы
good
станете совершенным и
at
начнете
doing
проповедовать,
things in the
вы
beginning,
вырастете, так не произойдет.
but if we continue
Проповедуйте и станете
to
совершенным.
preach,
Простые вещи
then
будут
we
доступны
become
для вашего понимания.
perfect.
Если вы чего-то не можете объяснить, скажите, я еще пока не могу это
Simple
объяснить. Не
things.
надо создавать
If you don't
шоу.
understand certain things,
Будьте
don't
честны
make a
со всеми,
show and
просто.
say, I don't understand these things yet.
Не надо быть всезнайкой, не надо.
Don't be
Это препятствие.
an all
Нужно из сердца
knower.
говорить, а не от ума. То, что запало
Speak
от
from
духовного
your heart,
учителя.
not from your
Объясните,
mind.
влияние это тело, это же здорово.
The
Вы
things
уже
you
получили
understood by your
это,
heart, you
объясните
need
людям,
to
как вы это понимаете.
convey
И что это
the
означает,
meaning.
что
You need to say, I'm
это
not
же
the body,
потрясающая
and
картина,
explain
да,
it.
другая картина мира совсем. Я не это тело.
Because it's a different
Расскажите людям.
picture of life.
Расскажите, какие, что за регулирующие
Just
принципы,
share
как это
your
регулирует свою жизнь,
your
как
way of life, your
балансировать свой ум, как
what is
стать
your
сильной
regulative
личностью.
principles.
Расскажите о йоге, да.
Share
Расскажите, пожалуйста.
share some of your ideas about
Когда
yoga.
Прабхупада проповедовал новым людям, он не говорил Кришна словом, говорил сверхдушу.
When Prabhupada was preaching to new people, he
Так
was
и
not
рекомендовал
saying Krishna,
проповедовать
he
новым
was
людям.
saying
Для меня
super
есть слово,
soul.
а сверхдуша.
You can also say
Мы к этому
super
пришли,
soul,
я
not
недавно
the
узнал.
Lord or
Мы к этому
Krishna.
пришли через десятки лет проповеди, что людям нужно говорить о сверхдуше.
I
а
just
это идет.
Came
Прабхупада с самого
to this
начала.
understanding. Actually, Prabhupada was doing from the very beginning, but I
Когда мы говорим о
understood
Кришне,
it
сразу не
very
понимают,
recently
говорят,
that
какая-то
you
секта,
just
кто
need
такой,
to
идите
talk
Бога.
not
Нет,
of Krishna,
душа
but
в
of
сердце
a
каждого.
super soul in the
Вот
heart of
что
everyone
для обычных людей.
for
Кришна
mundane
это
people,
узкая
regular people.
специализация для очень редких
Krishna
людей,
is the very
которые
narrow
обратятся
field
вот в 10-й песне
for few
Бхагаватам,
people
в итоге к этим играм.
who would
Это
look for
конкретно
Krishna in the
практикующие
Bhagavatam,
конкретная
who would
категория.
practice. They're pure devotees.
Конечно, Тикари у нас в
Kanishta
движении, это
Adhikari
тоже
in our
форма
dev-
чистого
in
преданного
our
служения. Очень
movement is also
Тот,
a
кто слушает о
a
Кришне, это
form of
уже
devotional service.
необычный Каништа Адхикари, это не-
Those
Каништа
people
Адхикари, это
who
Брахман, так
serve
сказать, или мистический
the
йога
Lord,
славит.
they are not ordinary
Он превосходит уже
Kanishtas.
всех
He is overcoming
мудрецов, аскетов и религиозных
the
деятелей.
wisers
Раз он уже
and
воспевает,
those
он,
who
конечно, еще
go
и
through
что вот видите,
austerities
я и Кришна.
and yogis, because he is sharing this knowledge.
Другие оценки, высшая благотворительная деятельность.
So this is
Нужно
the
думать, как можно
topmost
распространять
auspicious
знания.
activity. And when you should think how to spread this
Плоды нас не
knowledge,
интересуют. Мгм.
the knowledge you have. We are not after the fruits of the activity.
Незнание, естественно.
There's a
Это
point of view that
правильно. Нужно
there
просто как бы
there is
правильно
no
это
one
объяснить.
who would know
Это
everything.
нормально, можно так сказать.
So how do you
Незнание имеется в виду,
oppose
человек
this opinion?
должен сознавать, что он не знает Кришну.
a person should always know that he cannot understand Krishna. He doesn't know Krishna. This is the real situation of the living entity. And thanks to that opinion, Krishna is sharing his mercy, giving his mercy. He knows Krishna not from his mind. He knows from his mind nothing, but he knows Krishna from the mercy of Krishna. It's not like you need to stay fool. Not to you're saying you're fool, but you're not fool. So we're not neglecting this idea, but we add to it. Usually people, when they argue, they have just a sample of big knowledge. But if you add to it, then it will be open to the full, and then there will be no arguments. How to distinguish the truth?
Но это нужно понять индивидуально, субъективно.
You need
Сравнение
to
вот это не постигается до конца. То есть человек должен погрузиться в эту атмосферу, и тогда он скажет, да, вот это истина.
It's not about
Сам
comparing things. You need to perceive the thing. There is an example. There is a dream and awakeness. And you distinguish it, right? Why do we say it was a dream and this is the time when I'm not dreaming? When we are awakened, we say, I've just been dreaming. How do you distinguish it? This way, you distinguish that thing, because you are part of the knowledge. You don't need any proofs for it. With the little piece by piece, when a person eats, the taste, the satisfaction comes. The Bhagavatam says, you don't really need any explanations that you are full. You stuffed with food. So spiritual activity is spiritual, and you will get it by yourself. This is your personal experience. Everything is an illusion in this world. Outside, you won't be able to distinguish it. Only inside. Can a person become a devotee without bhakti sukriti got in the previous lives? Yes, he could if he would meet a pure devotee who would make his sukriti for him. Remember that example when Prabhupada was explaining that you need to go through many lifetimes of austerities and in order to build this bhakti sukriti, the sukriti thing. And one hippie, he said, Prabhupada, but I didn't do anything auspicious in my lifetime. All I did was vicious activity, and now I'm sitting next to you and chanting Hare Krishna, and I'm engaged in devotional service. And Prabhupada said, I've made you Sukriti. So the pure devotee, he can elevate us to this higher place. He can give us Krishna. This is the ability of the pure devotee. And everybody here got this mercy. Can we preach without the mercy of Guru? No. You need to read the books of Srila Prabhupada. If you feel like Prabhupada is your Shiksha Guru, then you can preach. If you take it as an instructions in your life, if you follow these instructions, it means you're a Shiksha disciple of Srila Prabhupada and you have a Guru. You might not have diksha yet that would help you to develop further, but you're already Shikshit disciple. I have a taste for kirtan and reading books, but I have no taste for chanting Hare Krishna. I guess you need some time. Because chanting japa is heavy duty for neophyte. Because it's a practice filled with transcendental taste and happiness, but for the one who is not controlling his mind yet, he is the beginner, it is hard activity to do. But bit by bit, he will learn it because he's eating, he's taking the prasadam, and his feelings would become fine, more fine and elaborate, and his mind becomes elaborate. And with the time, he would teach his mind to japa. The disciples of Guru can see, the disciples can see Krishna and Guru only. Them can see the Krishna and Guru because they follow his instructions. So you mean only the disciples of certain Guru can see Krishna himself? Is it correct? Well, I see the manifestation of Krishna in every spiritual master, especially in my spiritual master, of course, because he took this responsibility, and he's the one, but there are many other shikshas. They are the same, with bhava, transcendental knowledge, and inspiration, all the other symptoms. So I personally see Krishna in all the spiritual masters and advanced devotees in them too. Even the beginners, you can see the super soul inside of them. How do I understand that the connection with the spiritual master been established, that I have? Connection with the spiritual master is established when we see that we are strict in following the instructions of spiritual master. If we have our sadhana weakened, it means we are losing connection.
Еще один пример. Есть философия, которая утверждает, что мир материальный существует всегда, и, следовательно, нет нужды в Творце. Что можно сказать?
Another philosophy is saying that the material world is always there, and it does not require any creator. Yeah, that's right, it's always there, but the creator is there also because it goes in circles, and sometimes it's revealed, sometimes it's not revealed. In order to reveal a new circle of life, you need a creator. What is the right way to inspire people, and should we inspire at all? I don't think we need to inspire, just be concentrated on inspiration, because if someone would get... the question was, should we inspire or encourage someone in choosing his spiritual master? And he's saying, the answer is no, we don't really need to be focused on that, because if you have this connection, spiritual connection, you're already going to be inspired and encouraged in your advancement, in getting your spiritual master.